So the third season of Clone High came out a few weeks ago, and I found it kind of weird the only reason I found out this show even came out with another season, let alone it's already out, was because I followed Tara Billinger, the director of the show, on social media. And it's a really funny, interesting season, so I want to take some time to talk about it, maybe spread a little awareness that it actually exists. Season 2 was a little bit of a mess, as I had to establish a lot of the integration between the old clones and the new clones, like how Millennial Abe needs to blend in with the new Gen Z clones and not call stuff gay when he means it's the worst thing ever. But the new season really hits it off, and there's so many great character dynamics, and the cast really grew on me so much more than I could have expected. Before I start, I should quickly mention the new season I'm talking about is Season 3. If you Google Clone High, you get Season 1 as the original season, but Season 2 is listed as the season that just came out in February of 2024, as opposed to Season 2 or Reboot Season 1 that came out in the summer of 2023. Like, it's a pain in the ass to find because of this. Show me the first season of the reboot. Anyways, Season 3 starts off with a new teacher at school that teaches the students a bunch of pseudoscience, like if you drop a bird and it flies, it means gravity isn't real. It's kind of funny, but a little more cutesy after the second or third example. I don't know.
Hear that? Those are for you. You freed your minds, gentlemen. Now let them run wild.
There's snow on a mountaintop, so hot air doesn't rise.
Oh, I like it.
The Big Bang Theory didn't start everything young Sheldon did.
Oh, yeah.
Lefty tight.
It's an alright episode, but introducing a new teacher as a focal point of the first episode is a pretty interesting decision to make, but feels a little bit out of nowhere. I think I would have liked it more if the teacher was an actual clone of someone. Like, it'd be pretty funny if the teacher turned out to be like Joe Rogan or Tom Cruise. I guess that doesn't really work because they're alive, but you know. The teacher not being a character relevant to the premise of Clone High actually leads me to my biggest point of conflict with the new season, maybe with Clone High overall, which is, as these characters develop more into distinct personalities, it seems like they've lost a bit of the genetic makeup that makes them clones of the historical figures in the first place. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just kinda odd. It felt more like I was watching a character ensemble like 16, about 16 agers hanging out at the mall, as opposed to Clone High, a show about teens cloned from historical figures. Most of the characters from either show can be boiled down to basic archetypes, like JFK or Jonesy can be considered the kind of sleazy one who's always plotting something, the smart control freak, the laid-back chill one, a kind of more dumb laid-back chill one, the goth, the airhead. And that's not to criticize either show, like look at the comparison people make between 16 and Big Hero 6. This makes me laugh every time I see it. Big Hero 16. Haha. The main point with the comparison of these characters and archetypes is that it feels like you could basically swap the characters of 16 into a lot of the episodes of Clone High, and it wouldn't change a thing or feel out of place. Like, as an absolutely random example, there's an episode where Scudworth is trying to create a religion for a tax write-off. He tries to recruit Frida and Cleo, but they say religion isn't really their thing.
You two could be a real asset here. We need the entire student body to join Prayer Pals so the religion thing seems credible. As the school's most prominent power couple, you guys can make it happen.
Organized religion really isn't our thing.
Yeah, what's in it for us?
It's a casual line, but I think in nitpicking it, we can find a little more of Clone High's core. In the real world, Frida Kahlo is notably pretty separated from religion despite her Catholic upbringing. When Kahlo and her sister were supposed to be attending a catechism class shortly before this communion photo was taken, they instead escaped and went to eat Haas, Quinces, and Capulines in a nearby orchard. Other comparisons have been made of the inherent religious ties to other pieces of hers, like her depictions of her physical injuries and ailments being compared to depictions of Jesus, but overall I would agree with the statement that Frida isn't particularly religious. On the other hand, Cleopatra was a religious authority of both Egyptian and Greek faiths during her rule. Would it make more sense for Cleo to embody this trait and try to take on more of a leadership role in this episode because of her history? It may seem a bit hypocritical for me to question the historical traits the clones embody, because one of the strongest aspects of Season 3 is just how well these characters interact together. Like Abe, JFK, and Confucius are pretty chummy, Frida and Cleo are a couple, Harriet confides in Joan as her new best friend, but there's also the love triangle of Confucius, Harriet, and Joan. I think the beauty of this ensemble really clicked for me during the ski trip episode. In this episode, the students at Clone High take a school trip to Mount Avalanche, where Confucius plans to inform Harriet they're breaking up and that he's now dating Joan. There's some really funny moments like Confucius and Joan riding the ski lift, planning to break the news to Harriet.
Okay, when we get off the lift, let's just do it.
Absolutely. It's the perfect time to tell her, surrounded by all this natural beauty.
She can't possibly get upset in a place like this.
Right?
and just not getting off the ski lift at all, or the inherent threat of an avalanche if Harriet yells at them. Clone High is at its best for me when the characters are given the time and space to flourish, which often happens when they're placed in foreign environments, like when they were trapped in the desert in Season 2 for instance. And when we get all the clones in a close space together, snowed into the lodge, hiding from a glitched Mr. B who is intent on killing them all, I think to myself, you know, this is a really fun cast of characters. We get JFK hiding with Joan and Harriet, and in JFK's attempt for a three-way, we see Joan and Harriet find common ground supporting their friend. Not in a three-way, but with some friendly advice. Or Abe being the mediator between Cleo and Frida, who have been in a fight over Frida's warm homemade jacket versus Cleo's thin, sleek designer jacket. There's so many fun dynamics at play, even Frida and Cleo both being really popular but being on totally different ends of a materialistic spectrum creates a couple fun plot lines throughout the season. It's also nice Cleo gets to be an actual character this season. Like, I think through her interactions with Frida, she's a lot more interesting than in Season 2, where she kinda just complained about not being queen of the school anymore, but there's a lot more to her now. The other hilarious thing I want to quickly mention from this season is the relationship of Abe and Mary, which is so funny because the episode does such a great job parodying the romantic trope of the boy and girl next door neighbors that are platonic best friends and might have feelings for each other. In this case, Joan versus Mary, the manic pixie dream girl who pops up out of nowhere. And yes, the episode literally describes her as such. The group tries to determine who exactly Mary is, like if she's the First Lady, Mary Todd Lincoln, but in an amazing twist, it turns out Mary doesn't go to Clone High, but is Bloody Mary. There's an episode in Season 2 where the gals had a sleepover and summoned Bloody Mary, who climbs back out of the mirror when no one's looking. It seems like just a silly gag like, oh, she was actually evil, or she's gonna go attack the town or something. But to call back this gag a season and a half later is so funny, and actually created a really investing mystery of just who Mary was. This segues into the last topic I wanted to mention, which is the shipping, romance, and love triangles of the season. We've just mentioned the love triangle of Abe, Mary, and Joan, but once Mary's out of the picture, we have a love triangle between Abe, Confucius, and Joan. And I gotta say, there's a good case to be made for Confucius and Joan to be a couple. They have a lot of chemistry in the little time they share together, as Confucius pays Joan to date so they can make Harriet jealous. Harriet has a triangle dynamic with Confucius, who she was dating, and Toussaint Louverture, a Haitian general and leader of the Haitian Revolution from the end of the 1700s. Harriet dates Confucius but has feelings for the suave Toussaint, and then their eyeballs, do it. Like, they looked at each other too much, giving Harriet a guilty conscience throughout the season. I haven't said do it in probably like 15 years. Eventually, Harriet and Toussaint begin dating, and Joan and Confucius end up realizing they actually have feelings for each other. It's an interesting enough plot, and again, is a great parody of typical teen romance dramas. I get so caught up in the comedy of it that I don't take a moment to think, wow, of all people they cloned, Toussaint Louverture is such an interesting pick and choice to bring in. I think he captures the essence of Toussaint in a pretty interesting way, especially for a historical figure that's not as widely known as Cleopatra or Abraham Lincoln, at least in America. Given Harriet's values, I think it's pretty cool to introduce a character whose clone father is responsible for helping liberate the first black-led republic in the world. At the same time, I wonder if Toussaint's character would be any different if he was a different historical figure though. Like, what could he do similar to his clone father? Get in a fight with Napoleon? I don't know. Anyways, the new season of Clone High is actually pretty good, with great dialogue and writing, characters that actually gel together now, and at the end of the day, is a genuinely funny ensemble cast comedy and teen drama parody. It may lose a little bit of the original premise of Clone High and the involvement of clones and stuff, and I don't care much for the overarching plots and cliffhangers because I doubt they'll actually have any weight to them, but some episodes of this season are genuine 10 out of 10s, and I think a lot of people felt this season was going to ride the momentum of everything Season 2 built up for this really funny cast and the talented crew behind it. The creators said Gandhi will come back if there's a Season 4, but I think they were probably joking, and if he returns, he'll probably just get frozen again or kicked out. I got a lot of comments on my original video asking where Gandhi was, and to answer the question once and for all, I don't know, I didn't make the show! Thanks for watching, let me know what you thought about the season in the comments below, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.